Welcome back, everybody. Today we're diving into Exodus chapter 31
Ooh, Exodus 31.
and using some really interesting insights from a website called My Christian Space.
Okay.
They've got this kind of cool approach looking at how, God's instructions can lead to blessings.
Okay. Yeah.
And one of the things that we'll be talking about is how certain, like tribes of Israel, are kind of connected to the idea of praise.
Mm-hmm.
And get this, praising God can actually help us make better decisions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's just like a little taste of what we'll be unpacking. Ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
So what really stood out to me in the My Christian Space commentary was how they approached Exodus 31. It's not just like a list of rules or anything. It's
Yeah.
more like they see it as a way to understand God's character and like his desire to have like a close relationship with his people.
It's like a love letter almost.
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, so speaking of relationships, let's talk about Bezalel, the craftsman chosen by God. Can you imagine like being Bezalel and suddenly you're just filled with all these skills to build this incredible tabernacle?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like the text actually says that he was filled with the Spirit of God.
Mhm.
And that gave him this like wisdom and understanding in pretty much every craft you can imagine, like from working with gold and silver to carving wood even.
Like he's this master builder, but like with a divine touch.
Yeah, exactly. It's like supernatural skill.
Yeah. And that's what My Christian Space really emphasizes, right? Like they say that Bezalel's skill, it wasn't just natural talent. It was like this divine inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you think, what about our own talents and
Mhm.
skills?
Mm-hmm.
Are they just our own? Or could they be like gifts
Oh, yeah, definitely.
and like even maybe part of a bigger plan?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's easy to take our abilities for granted, but what
Mhm.
if we viewed them as gifts? Like, how would that change the way we use them?
That's a great question.
And, there's another layer to this whole Bezalel thing too, right? Because he was from the tribe of Judah, which represents praise,
Okay.
and his assistant, Aholiab, was from the tribe of Dan, which is associated with judgment.
Oh, interesting.
So My Christian Space kind of suggests this fascinating connection between like these two ideas, praise and judgment.
Okay, so we've got praise and judgment linked to these craftsmen.
Right.
How does that work?
Well, they basically suggest that praising God can lead to a deeper understanding,
Okay.
and that understanding can then help us make like better judgments.
So it's not just about feeling good when you're praising God. It's
Right.
about gaining wisdom.
Exactly. It's like praise opens our minds to see things more clearly, and that clarity helps us make better decisions.
So have you ever felt like a moment of gratitude or praise has helped you see a situation differently? Maybe make a tough choice.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I think we all have those moments where gratitude shifts our perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about Shabbat.
Okay.
It might seem like a simple concept, right? Like a day of rest. But Exodus 31, it kind of shows us that there's a lot more to it than that.
Well, it mentions different types of Shabbat, right? Like the weekly one,
Right,
festival days, sabbatical year, jubilee year. Like there's all these.
yeah, exactly. And that's what My Christian Space highlights too. They say that Shabbat, it's not just about like taking a break. It's meant to be like a special sign, a covenant between God and his people.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, just think about like your week, right?
Uh-huh.
All the work, the family stuff, errands, all of it. It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
And then imagine hitting pause on all of it.
Radical.
It's like that's the idea behind Shabbat. It's
Yeah.
not just sleep.
Right.
It's like intentionally disconnecting and then reconnecting with something bigger.
Yeah, like reconnecting with God, with yourself, with what truly matters.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a real challenge in today's world.
Oh, absolutely.
We're always connected.
Always on the go.
But, maybe that's why it's so important, right? Like,
Mhm.
where can you create space for that kind of rest in your own life?
That's a good question. That's something we should all be asking ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, there's another side to Shabbat that the text brings up. It talks about the consequences for breaking it, too.
Right. And that can be a tough one.
Yeah, and My Christian Space, they offer like a perspective that comes from Christian theology,
Okay.
They basically explain that while the Old Testament law had this like harsh penalty for breaking Shabbat, the belief is that Jesus, through his sacrifice, fulfilled the requirements of the law.
It's definitely a thought-provoking interpretation.
Yeah, it is.
And it kind of reminds us that this is, a complex topic
Yeah,
with a lot of different viewpoints.
for sure.
What do you find most striking about this? Thinking back to the source material.
Honestly, for me, what's really fascinating is how this whole concept of Shabbat connects to the idea of salvation by grace.
Okay.
It's not by our own efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just as God rested after creating the world, we can find rest in, like, his finished work of salvation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about what we do,
Okay.
it's about what he's already done for us.
It's such a powerful idea, right?
Yeah, it is.
Something that seems like this ancient rule about resting can have like such deep meaning for us today.
Absolutely.
But let's get even more like tangible,
Okay.
The text talks about the tablets of stone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine God personally carving those words.
It's an incredible image.
It is.
And my Christian space, they connect this to the idea that God's detailed instructions, they're meant to prepare us for service
Right.
and to ultimately lead us to his blessings.
Like it's a blueprint,
yeah.
a guide.
A guide given directly from the source.
Hold it. Let's pause there for a moment.
We-
We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into Exodus chapter 31.
I mean, those tablets, they really make you think, don't they? Like, we're so used to getting information like instantly now
Yeah.
on our phones, our screens.
Right.
It's easy to forget about like the power of something tangible,
Yeah, for sure.
something lasting.
It's like the difference between a handwritten letter
Oh, yeah.
and a text message.
Totally.
One just feels so much more personal.
Right. So much more meaningful.
Exactly. And I think that's what those stone tablets were, right?
Mhm.
It was this permanent reminder,
Yes.
this weighty reminder of the importance of God's words.
It makes you wonder, how would our relationship with information change?
Right.
With knowledge, even with God's word,
Yeah.
if we approached it with that same kind of like awe and reverence,
Wow. That's a powerful question.
Yeah.
This whole deep dive has got me thinking. If God were to give each of us our own set of instructions,
Mhm.
like inscribed on tablets of stone, what would they say?
What an incredible thought.
What would yours say?
I don't know. That's a big question.
It is.
It really gets to the heart of like our purpose,
Right.
our calling, Would they be like the 10 Commandments, giving us these universal principles? Or
Right.
would they be more specific, Like a unique guide for our own journey?
And with seeing those instructions like actually etched in stone,
Yeah.
would it change how we approach each day?
I think it would.
Would we be more intentional,
Oh, yeah.
more aware of the choices that we're making?
I think so. It's like sometimes I feel like we get so caught up in the busyness of life,
Right.
all the information coming at us,
Mm-hmm.
that we lose sight of the bigger picture. We forget to pause,
Right.
to seek guidance.
To listen.
Yeah, to really listen for direction.
We're so focused on building the tabernacle that we forget to consult the blueprint,
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
But one thing that I really found striking in this chapter was the emphasis on God's personal involvement.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just like, here are the instructions, good luck.
Right.
It was more like, I'm with you every step of the way. I'm equipping you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guiding you,
Yeah.
empowering you to create something truly extraordinary.
That's such an important message for us today, isn't it?
It is.
No matter what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
whether we're building something physical,
Right.
a career, a family.
Just trying to navigate life.
Yeah, exactly. It's comforting to know that we're not alone.
Like we've got the ultimate mentor.
The ultimate cheerleader.
Yes. Right there beside us.
I love that.
And I think that, to me, that's the most inspiring takeaway from this deep dive
Yeah.
into Exodus 31.
It's a beautiful reminder that God's instructions, they're not meant to like restrict us. They're
Right.
meant to set us free.
Their gift.
Yeah, they're not a burden. They're a gift.
A pathway.
A pathway to purpose, to
It's the
connection,
meaning.
a life filled with meaning. Yeah.
And that's what I love about my Christian Spaces take on this.
Uh-huh.
It's not just like a dry reading of the text.
Right.
It's an invitation to see these instructions as relevant, alive in our lives today.
Absolutely. It highlights how, like, at its core, the Bible is all about relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's the story of God reaching out to humanity,
Yeah.
offering guidance, offering love.
And that promise of something more.
Yes, exactly.
So as we wrap up our exploration of Exodus 31,
Okay.
here's a final thought for you to ponder.
Okay.
If you were to picture your life as this, like grand creation,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of blueprint are you following?
Ooh, that's good.
Are you building with intention,
Yeah.
with purpose,
Yeah.
with an awareness of that, like divine hand at work in your life?
And even more importantly, are you taking the time to rest,
Yes.
to reflect, to connect with the source of all inspiration.
Because that's where it's at.
That's where it's at.
That's where the true fulfillment, the true blessing is found. It really is like we're all craftsmen, huh?
Is.
Shaping our lives day by day.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
And having that blueprint, that
Mhm.
connection to something bigger,
Yeah,
it can make all the difference.
it really can.
Well, this has been such a fascinating conversation.
It has. I've learned so much.
I know, me too. And it's given me so much to think about.
Me too.
And hopefully it sparks some ideas for you too.
Yes, definitely.
Listening in.
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
We always love hearing from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you have any thoughts, reflections
Mm-hmm.
on Exodus 31,
Yeah.
or if you've ever felt that nudge
Yeah.
of divine inspiration in your own life,
Mm-hmm.
head over to our social media. Share your story.
And if you're interested in diving deeper into the
Right.
into my Christian space, their commentary,
Yeah, the source material.
you can check them out online.
They've got some really great stuff.
Really insightful stuff.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Exodus 31.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic,
Yes. Can't wait.
a fresh stack of sources.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those hidden treasures of wisdom.
Absolutely.